Gary's Book Club. Gary's Book Club is Gary Shapiro, who runs CES and is kind enough to, and believes in kids enough, to encourage creativity and innovation at every age. So Anna Van Slee and Carolyn Chandler are the co-authors of Adventures in Experience Design. And they work with Hala Hamasi, who also works on UI and experience. So now it's about what can we learn, and they're going to challenge you to put on your serious creativity caps and make this a bit more interactive. So no just hanging out there, guys, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. 1 second, I'm having some issues.
We're having a few technical difficulties, but I think we can get started and we'll just catch up the presentation. Who here has gone over to the North Hall and seen the CES Innovation Awards? It's like 15 or so products. It's worth going. You should go and check it out. There's one product in particular that really caught my eye. I think it's very relevant to us. It's the Sproutling baby monitor. It's really neat. It's we'll have a picture of it up shortly. It's a wearable for babies, and it tracks stuff like temperature, restlessness, and it not only tracks what they're doing, but it gives you a predictive model too, so that mothers can see a pattern in their baby's sleep, and then actually react to that, predict. Sorry. Oh, okay. So, Sproutling. Sorry, lost my train of thought. It's a very cool product. You should go check those out. Now, who here wouldn't want to win one of those innovation awards, right? That's why we're all here. We're here to learn from each other and check out this cool new technology and design our own product. And that really starts not with looking at a platform, but starts with asking the right question and really identifying a need, an unmet need. And we are designers, and the design methodology process is a process of finding a problem and then solving that problem. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're actually going to run through an activity of problem finding. So in the case of Sprout, I imagine the designers of Sprout didn't ask, how do we build a better baby monitor? They asked, why do we even have a baby monitor? So that mothers can sleep train their babies. So they asked, how can we make sleep training for mothers more convenient? So we're going to run through an activity and an exercise that will tell you how to manufacture the right questions to really design those innovative products that people can't live without, that they really need. And this is really just a small step in the process. Our book, which Carolyn will talk about in a minute, is that process. It's a big, protracted design thinking methodology, and we're going to do just the first little tiny chunk of that. But Carolyn's going to put it in context for you in talking about that process.
So how many folks here are familiar with the software development lifecycle process of discover, define, design, develop, deploy? How many people have heard that? Okay, a few people. So what we really wanted to do is focus in on the design piece of that, because discovery is such a huge element of design, as Anna was mentioning, actually finding interesting challenges to address and finding the right problems to solve is a really key piece of being creative and coming up with products that really make a difference. So instead of using that model, we really focused in on the aspect of design that allows you to sponge, which basically is going out in the field, observing different things that are problems right now, ways that people are working around them now, ways that things could be improved. Spark, which is where you find a really good meaty problem and use that as a way to think of ideas that could really change the situation. And that's what we're going to do a little bit of an exercise around today. You would then take that when you have a solution concept, and splatter, which is brainstorming, coming up with a lot of different ideas. Some of them might be really bad, but you want to really let yourself play at that period. And then sculpt is where you start saying no to certain ideas. This is where you have to kind of let go of some of your favorites maybe because they're not as feasible, or maybe it's not really the right kind of problem to solve, or maybe it's just not a good fit for the audience, the players of the toy, for example. And then finally storytell, because a lot of people in design make the mistake of creating something really great but not spending the time to really explain what it is to people who might invest in it, or to people who might buy it. You need to have the people who had the vision all the way through be very involved in the process of telling the story of that product. So we're going to dive into the Spark piece of it a little bit. And some of the things that we'll do often is we'll run 2 or 3 day intensive workshops with a team, cross-disciplinary team. in order to get them to open up and think about some of the challenges they're trying to address in different ways. What we're going to actually do is just one of the very first steps of that here, and we're going to craft a challenge statement that itself makes us think a little bit differently about a certain kind of problem or activity. We're going to actually build this statement using three different components. So Hala's going to talk about the first one, user types.
So what is a user type? Does anybody know here? Has anybody here done user research, field research? Okay, see some hands, great. So what we really do is we really try to understand what's your sweet spot, who are your abandoners, and where do you want to grow into? Who do you want to capture as a market or as user types, right? So these is kind of understanding the spectrum of your user types and your market is really where we start doing a lot of our user research and field research. And the kind of things we look at is really behavioral patterns. We look at how do they interact with certain products and what is their unmet need, and we try to kind of put them inside groupings. And what we're really trying to get to is become intelligent, emotionally intelligent about those human beings that are going to be using the product that we're designing. And what are we trying to really solve for them? What is that unmet need? What is that insight that we can get to that can connect with them emotionally so that they can adopt the product or the experience that we are trying to basically design for them?
So we're
And-
going to, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So we're going to put up 10 different user types here
Yep.
on our board.
So
Do you
we're
wanna-
going to need you to basically become part of this. We would love your engagement. We would love to come up with some user groups with you. For example, given our context, KidsatPlay, I would say single moms or preteens. Who can help me out?
Toddlers.
Toddlers?
Okay.
Seniors?
Think beyond age group too. How are toddlers different from each other? Gender, skill sets. Let's get real specific too.
How about bilingual kids?
Bilingual kids. What was that? Disabled.
Anyone on this side?
Let's see.
How about hyperactive boys?
Good one. I'm going to say disabled grandparents. Keep it relevant to our Kids at Play theme. Hyperactive.
Boys.
Let's say hyperactive 6-year-old boys.
6-year-old boys, great. So the more adjective we put and the more specific we get, the more we are able to focus our exploration on a specific need and a specific set of behaviors. Autistic?
Sure. Yeah. You want to modify that with maybe a gender, an age group? No, it's okay.
Elementary.
Elementary.
Okay.
Yep,
Yeah.
elementary
With cerebral.
with cerebral palsy.
What are some of the user groups that you guys are designing products for right now, even just sort of bigger general categories? Kids.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
I like that. Yep. Breastfeeding mothers
Oh, good one.
That's good, yeah.
need some sleep.
Oh, there was one other one I forgot. It was called out.
How many do we have?
One,
That's a
two,
good list.
That's a good list,
five,
yeah.
six, 7, 8. Yeah,
Great.
that's good.
Great. Okay. Cool. Okay, so that's one part. Then we're gonna think about improvement. So these could be words. A lot of times when people say they want to improve something, they might say we want to make it easier, we want to make it more accessible or more engaging. But some of the words that we actually want to look for might be things that make you really think about the experience in a different way. So it could be more exciting, less isolating. Just think about those kinds of things that you know you would like to have in your life, like more luxurious, more social.
Luxurious is a good one.
Yeah, luxurious. This is a little tougher, I know, but what would you like more of in your life? More fun?
Was it?
Time.
Let's say maybe easygoing. More easygoing. Time. If you have more time, you can take your time.
Is it that you want to save time? Or that you want to
Have more time.
have more time? Okay. Less time
So
consuming.
let's dig into that a little bit more. What does having more time mean for you as an individual? It means that you can be more relaxed, so we can put relaxing, which is maybe a better word than easygoing. What else? Having more time means that efficiency. Yeah, more efficient.
You want to do more things with your time?
I want to be less efficient.
You want to
Oh,
be
okay,
less
be less efficient.
Good one. Yeah, less efficient.
More, what's the word?
leisurely?
Enjoyable,
Yeah.
or, yeah.
Unstructured.
Unstructured, that's good.
That's good.
More unstructured.
Smile time.
Smile time.
Unstructured. Good one. I'm seeing a theme here. Are people tired this morning? Social.
Social.
That's great.
Inspired.
Inspiring, yeah. Okay, that's a good list, yeah.
All right.
So last but not least is activities. And I think a lot of people start the design process here and really just look at this, especially in the toy and game space. You'll look at, say, a word skills game or, a plush, and you really just think about that. These are, again, sort of the three ingredients of identifying an unmet need. It's the user type, the improvement, and the activity. And together, that's really going to give you, as you'll see in a second, a challenge statement that you can really ideate against and come up with those innovative products. But I think activities should be a pretty easy one for us to assemble. So again, like play patterns, game mechanics, even everyday activities. As we all know, kids are aspirational. Stuff that we take for granted or even considered chores can be really magical for a kid. I'm old enough that mail was really exciting when I was little, getting a piece of actual physical mail. I think kids today feel that way about email and texting. So what are some activities that we should put up here? Reading.
Reading together?
Reading together.
Yeah.
Going on a walk.
Going on a walk. I'm going to add playing dress up because that's just a favorite of mine. What are some of your favorite games and toys? Let's go to those play patterns. Storytelling. That's a good one. Racing. Playing games?
Playing games.
A particular game comes to mind when you say playing games? Uno?
Uno.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Uno, racing card game.
You had one?
What is it?
Right. Right. Right.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
So maybe
outdoor
there's-
rowdy.
There might
play.
be an improvement in that that's like less constraining or something like that.
Freeing.
Freeing.
More like it.
freeing.
Freeing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll call it rowdy outdoor play.
Right.
Free to be.
Right.
Cool.
Cool.
I think we've got a great list here. Let me highlight these. So then what we want to do is start drawing connections between these. So we're building statements that we'll be ideating against. So we're making this activity improved in this way for this user group. So this is a playful activity. So some of these should be funny too. We should come up with some weird pairings, but you get a lot of aha moments out of this too. So Mad Libs, mixing these up, going on a walk, let's make that more leisurely for toddlers. Like what would be some products that would make going on a walk more leisurely for a toddler? Well, then you start to think what makes going on a walk stressful for a toddler? What are some of their challenges and how you can improve that? Does anyone else want to take a stab? Do you see a challenge statement that grabs you kind of running through here?
Let's come up with some crazy ones.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's a great one. Reading together, more social for single moms. Let's see, what else? How about playing dress up? I'll put a little star next to that one. making playing dress up more relaxing for hyperactive 6-year-old boys. So what are they, your dress up can be pretty messy. You're pulling stuff out of the closet, right? Or makes you think about what is dress up and how is that different if you're talking about boys who are really hyperactive, active imagination.
I like racing leisurely for bilingual kids.
Oh, that's a good one. We'll do a circle next to this. Racing or leisurely for bilingual kids. Right, so words we take for granted when you're setting up a racing game might be an issue. If you're playing red light, green light,
Right.
And you've got kids, how would you mix up the language components there? You could use it as a language teaching tool.
So that's basically one way of connecting the ideas that the team comes up with so that you can ideate together.
Yeah, and some of these at first when you see it, you think, is there really a problem here? Is there really some kind of product that would make a difference here? But when we first did this in the classes that we teach, we ended up with, how do you make biking more luxurious for bald men? And at first we're like, well, what is there in that? But then you realized a lot of the helmets that are sold, the more expensive they are, the more aerodynamic, the more they have big holes in them, which means that could lead to sunburn, and it slips a lot on a bald head. And so it led to some really interesting solutions of how could we design a better helmet for bikers.
So what it does is really opens up the possibilities and break down those traditional walls of thinking that we sometimes put ourselves in.
Especially when you're solving a problem that might not be a problem, but then you can find a problem within that, like
Right.
the biking for bald men. Yeah.
Great.
So again, this was like a tiny little first step. This would be like an all-day workshop, and then we would go into what we call the Spark frame, which is sort of the larger next steps.
So we use this as a way to take that initial germination of an idea, and then that's the challenge statement at the top that we just started creating here. Your next steps would be to think about those problems, get out some of your assumptions, some of those things, like Anna mentioned, that you might originally push against and say, well, is this really an issue? And think about those problems, get out and see people actually trying to perform those activities to get a better understanding of the whys. Why are those problems? Or maybe some of the things you thought were problems aren't, and other things are discovered. And use that to really spark some new solution ideas, which you can then take out into concepting.
And so the way we do this is to really become hackers. We go into people's lives and we hack them. We can be as silent as a little fly on the wall, but we watch them. We try to understand what is it that is painful, what is joyful. What is it that they're trying to do? What is the driver behind specific behavior? What are they looking for? What is the deep yearning inside? What are they looking to be or do? And that's really where the insights come in. Once you are able to connect on a deep emotional level with your user types or your user groups and really understand the human unmet need behind those interactions, that's really what kind of basically allows us to frame or reframe a problem and look at it from a new perspective that's a little bit more human. It becomes less about technology and products and more about a person that's trying to get through a day or trying to make a moment meaningful and connect with their kids.
And then the next step in the process is considering constraints. Constraints are a difficult part in the brainstorming process. You've got a lot of ideas. It's hard to start saying no, and the key is to say those really savvy no's. So of course you're going to look at things like feasibility and viability, but you can take the data you've learned from your contextual inquiry, some of that qualitative data, and start putting further constraints on it, knowing, I think with some of our user types, we have some great examples of very physical constraints. In the context of CES, this is where you would really start to think about the technology as well and what makes sense. So it really, as you can see, kind of comes in later in the process. And constraints are good for whittling down your ideas, but they also push your ideas further. Brainstorming can be socially uncomfortable. It's hard to tell someone that you don't like their idea. Our ideas are very personal things to us. So when you start applying constraints, it becomes this sort of third-party way to discuss and sort of deal with some of that rejection in a way that's more socially comfortable. And research has shown that when you do a blue sky ideation brainstorm, you yield a lot of results, but they're not very high quality. To really start to have solutions that are of higher quality, that are going to lead to those innovative products, you really need to push someone else and to push them to think harder, and constraints do that for you. So thank you very much. This is, again, just a quick snapshot of the design process. But that is what we capture in our book. And if you're interested to learn more, we will be doing an interview with a little more in-depth look of the process tomorrow afternoon.
Any questions?
I believe that was the best use of cats in any PowerPoint presentation I've ever seen.
Cats and neckties. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
I'd like to thank you guys for the
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.